warning from BC Ferries. Travelers between Vancouver Island and the Lower Mainland may experience even longer waits than normal this long weekend. That's thanks to unexpected maintenance on one of its largest ships. The corporation says starting today, passengers traveling on one of its busiest routes should leave their vehicle at home unless they have a reservation. Janella Hamilton leads us off tonight and joins us live with more. Janella, what is the warning to travelers tonight?
Well, Michelle, it's not news you want to hear heading into the Canada long weekend, but BC Ferries has announced starting today until Monday, there will be 8 fewer daily sailings than originally planned between Tsawwassen and Swartz Bay, all because one of their largest ships needs to be repaired. In a statement, the company says the coastal celebration is out of rotation due to unexpected complications with its propulsion systems. Deborah Marshall with BC Ferries says more than 6,600 reservations have already been rebooked on other vessels, leaving very little room for any additional vehicles hoping to get a spot on one of the remaining ferries.
It's customers who did not plan ahead and make a booking and they were going to travel as a show and go. Those customers will be faced, we believe, with multiple sailing waits at the peak times over the weekend.
And Janella, certainly not what you want to see on the busiest weekend. What is coming? How are they preparing for this influx of travelers?
Well, with the celebration out of commission, the route's capacity will be cut by more than 12,000 people each day. The announcement has left many people scrambling to reserve on other ferries. That volume led to BC Ferries' website crashing earlier today, but it has since been restored. As you mentioned, Michelle, it is a very busy travel weekend of the summer, so we are going to talk a little bit about how they're going to deal with that influx of travelers. Michelle, I'm going to tell you how they're going to deal with that influx of travelers, as we were mentioning. The company says it's hired extra traffic flaggers and has opened all of the ticket booths at Swartz Bay and Tsawwassen terminals. They're hoping more staff will help alleviate the expected long lines and sailing waits. Both terminals will have activities for families and hydration stations for those who are forced to wait. The coastal celebration is expected to be back up and running by Tuesday if repairs go as planned. Michelle?
Our Janella Hamilton reporting tonight. Thanks, Janella. The union representing Longshore workers in BC has issued a 72-hour strike notice, saying contract negotiations with the employer have stalled. The International Longshore and Warehouse Union of Canada represents thousands of workers who get cargo on and off ships in BC ports. The union has been bargaining with the BC maritime employers to renew a collective agreement that expired at the end of March. It's seeking higher wages and to guard against the increasing use of automation. Premier David Eby says he's worried about the strike's potential impact.
British Columbians have already seen rising costs on a whole array of different fronts, on food, on essentials, driven by global inflation. Part of this is supply chain disruptions that we've seen, which included challenges at our port and our rail system throughout the pandemic period, and rising costs of shipping goods. To see the potential for a strike to cause even further costs for British Columbians is very concerning to me at a time when British Columbians cannot afford that.
Eby encouraged both sides to sit down and work out a deal. The strike notice means 7,200 workers could walk off the job Saturday morning. Search and rescue teams are looking for a 16-year-old girl who has gone missing while hiking in Golden Ears Provincial Park north of Maple Ridge. Esther Wang was hiking with 3 others when she got separated from her group yesterday afternoon. She's 5'3" with a slim build and long black hair. Wang was hiking the East Canyon Trail and had just left Steve's Lookout. She was wearing black leggings, a black jacket, and wearing a navy blue baseball cap. Anyone who may have seen her is asked to call RCMP. BC is launching its online system for booking appointments with pharmacists starting tomorrow. Earlier this month, pharmacists were given the ability to prescribe medications for some minor ailments as well as contraceptives. Our Mira Baines shows us how the new system is hoping to ease a medical crunch.
More big changes for people seeking prescriptions are coming in Thursday morning. Tomorrow, BC will become the first province in Canada to have an online booking system for appointments with pharmacists. It's part of a shift in the province to ease pressure on doctors in the healthcare system. The BC College of Family Physicians estimates nearly 1 million British Columbians have no access to a family doctor.
That's a great question. The announcement today is about making sure that people have access to care in their communities where they are. Not everybody has access to a family doctor. So making sure that if there's a space at your pharmacy, there's a pharmacist available to see you, that your ailment falls within the categories that they're able to assist with, that you're able to be assured that when you show up, there's going to be someone there for you.
Earlier this month, the province empowered pharmacists to prescribe drugs for 21 minor ailments like urinary tract infections, allergies, acne, indigestion, along with contraception.
It will be easier for patients to find a pharmacy and a time for a pharmacist to access them for their cold sore, a rash, an allergy, or even a simple urinary tract infection, rather than going to the emergency department after hours. And they can always walk in to speak with our pharmacist about a minor ailment or a prescription for contraception.
The website goes live tomorrow at gov.bc.ca/see a pharmacist. So far, the province says more than 25,000 people have seen a pharmacist for an assessment. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
As Port Coquitlam moves to ban illicit drug use in parks, playgrounds and civic facilities, Premier David Eby says the province is working to help other municipalities take action.
One of the areas we're looking at is a potential new law, new legislation in the fall session to support municipalities to make sure that we're sending the message that these community spaces need to be available for everybody, but also recognize the challenging balance and the public health crisis we're in related to addiction, mental health, and the toxic drug supply.
In the beginning of the year, the province decriminalized possession of small amounts of certain illicit drugs. Port Coquitlam's mayor announced yesterday the city is strengthening its bylaws. Brad West says this will allow officers to address instances of drugs being used in places where the public and children gather. For his part, opposition leader Kevin Falcon is eager to get legislation passed.
It needs to happen now, and I've said we're prepared to go right back into the legislature tomorrow if necessary and get this thing done to the benefit of our kids.
Port Coquitlam is just the latest municipality to legislate rules on drug use in parks. Cities on the island, as well as in the interior, have also introduced new rules. The province is investing more than $1.7 million into a local not-for-profit focused on supporting young people struggling with addiction. The funding is going to Dan's Legacy Foundation. The charity is partnering with BC Children's Hospital to provide 10 therapists, 2 social workers, and 4 outreach workers, offering after-hours on-call support to young people aged 15 to 25. These services are intended to help youth with addictions transition back to their community after treatment. A new report from BC Senior Advocates has found the province needs to significantly increase subsidized living units for the elderly. The review, spearheaded by Isabel Mackenzie, found that despite a 52% increase in funding, the number of publicly subsidized assisted living units has decreased in the past 5 years. The report notes, quote, "The lack of growth in publicly assisted living over the past 5 years is already being felt in long-term care."
If anybody out there has had the experience, they will absolutely know. I think what there's an expression, tacking Jello to a wall, trying to figure out, okay, what is my mom getting here? What are we paying for? What's regulated? What cost increases can we expect?
Mackenzie is calling for a provincial review to simplify the system, protect seniors' tenancy rights, and increase the number of subsidized units. A small crowd gathered outside Premier David Eby's constituency office today, calling on the province to formulate a BC climate emergency plan.
In its current form, the province's official climate plan, Clean BC, simply does not cut it.
The rally, organized by the groups BC Climate Emergency Campaign and Frack Free BC, saw speakers calling on the government to rapidly divest from fossil fuels and accelerate transitions to zero-emissions transportations and buildings.
Main financial commitments have been on emergency resilience and response. All of this is needed, but it is insufficient. If we do not redouble our climate actions to rapidly reduce greenhouse gas emissions and drive them down to zero, we will never get ahead of the curve.
More than 600 British Columbians died during the heat dome in June 2021. It is considered the deadliest weather event in Canadian history. New West residents say they've been left in the dark after the province announced a plan to give out thousands of free air conditioners. The city, which has its own utility company, is currently not included in the rebate. This comes as data from the BC Coroner Service shows that New Westminster, Chilliwack and Burnaby had the highest rates of death per capita during the heat dome in 2021. New West City Councillor Daniel Fontaine says he's concerned about another heat dome.
It's a lot of older buildings. We're the oldest city west of Winnipeg. A lot of our buildings, our old rental units, they're very hot. A lot of them have no air conditioning. A lot of them are built on hills. We're a very hilly city. And in fact, if you look at where a lot of the individuals died, I'm told that a lot of them passed away in buildings that were on hills, that were facing west, and that were literally, the sun was beating down on them for days on end.
BC Hydro expects to install 8,000 air conditioning units over the next 3 years for people who have low incomes or are medically vulnerable to heat. Fontaine says that's not nearly enough, and he's worried about the costs associated with operating the units. Marine scientists are excited about the possible sighting of a baby orca near Tofino. The calf appears to be attached to the L-pod of the southern resident killer whales. The Centre for Whale Research posted photos of the calf on Facebook on Friday and says the calf appears to be at least 3 weeks old. A marine researcher says the photos show strong evidence of a new member of the pod, adding the last L-pod calf was born 2 years ago. This calf looks much younger.
Resident killer whale calves have about a 50% mortality rate during their first year of life. So it's definitely, not in the clear yet. It's sort of a cautious optimism at this point. We're excited to see a new little one, but it really needs to thrive over the next year to become, hopefully a future breeding member of the population.
The new calf would bring the L-pod's population to 33 and the population of the endangered southern killer whales to 74. And it's time to bring in meteorologist Johanna Wagstaff. Nothing like a baby whale to tug at the heartstrings.
I was just going to say, Michelle, some days you just need a good news story, and baby orca today was exactly what I feel like we all needed, especially because I don't have a great forecast. If we were hoping for some relief when it comes to needing some moisture on the south coast, but I do have a pretty good long-range weekend forecast. There's always two sides to the weather coin, especially this season with the spring that we've started off with. Wanted to show you the current temperatures, 25 right now at YVR, hitting 30 in through Kelowna, 32 down towards the Soyuz, and mid to high 20s across the east side of the island. There's a lot going on today on our satellite and radar. High pressure has been sort of nestled in across the south coast, keeping the south coast clear and warm for the past few days. Yet another day of lightning strikes and pop-up thunderstorms for the interior. Over the past few days, the Rockies all the way through to the Cascades have seen thousands of lightning strikes. Now, they are coming with downpours. Not out of the question that we are also seeing new fire starts smolder, especially up in the northeast. We'll have to keep an eye on that. And we do have those thunderstorm watches in place, so keep your eye out for any severe weather in the next few hours. But fire danger is going to turn around very quickly, Michelle, as we get into the next hot and dry stretch. I'll tell you just how hot coming up.
Thanks, Joe. I'll check in with you in a bit.
Sounds good.
For years, many Vancouverites have marked Canada Day with fireworks celebrations at Canada Place, but this year the Port of Vancouver has decided to nix the tradition permanently, citing costs. We went to Trout Lake to ask people how they feel knowing the display is done.
Disappointing, yeah. It's great, brings people together and it's fun and great activity. It's a free activity here in Vancouver, which is great.
It's sad, but I think it's probably the best thing for the environment and for the city. Maybe they could look at using drones or something instead. Seeing a lot of cool stuff with that these days.
I've always enjoyed hearing them at night, knowing that there's kids going, ooh, ah. I think there's something special and really beautiful about that. I have a kid on the way, and I hope that one day I can enjoy some fireworks with them.
I enjoy seeing the fireworks, but I don't like
what it entails and all the negative aspects of it. I did love fireworks when I was a kid, though.
Other BC communities will continue with the Canada Day tradition with fireworks displays in Victoria, Port Coquitlam, Burnaby, and others. And another big summer event is suddenly hung up. Pop icon Madonna will be postponing her tour, which was slated to start in Vancouver on July 15th. The move comes after the singer developed a serious bacterial infection, which according to her manager led to a several-day stay in intensive care. Her team says her health is improving, but all commitments will be put on pause and her tour will be rescheduled. There's no word yet on refunds for tickets. Well, Canadian rock band Nickelback was inducted into the BC Entertainment Hall of Fame today. The honor also includes a shiny new star located on Granville Street, just outside the Commodore Ballroom. CBC's Liam Britton spoke to them this afternoon.
6 Grammy nominations, 12 Juno Awards, 2 American Music Awards. Now, I cannot tell you the name of one person who doesn't like this band, but I can tell you, they are Nickelback.
We love you too. From the first time we showed up here to record a demo in North Vancouver at a recording studio called Crosstown Studios in the summer of 1995, from that moment on, it felt like this province had adopted us. And suddenly we had 2 provinces that we were from and referred to very affectionately. This is amazing. This is absolutely humbling. It's incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who helped us along the way. Thank you for everyone who came to our gigs when there was only 5 people there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll take right next to Michael J. Fox any day of the week.
Hey, Chad.
How are you guys?
How's this feel?
Fantastic. Anytime you're being honored for something like this, it's a great feeling. Very flattering.
Do you have a lot of memories on Granville Street, perhaps some blurry memories?
Mostly blurry. I think everybody, we were just laughing because we're coming out of the Commodore, and someone just turned to me and said, "Isn't it bizarre being here sober?" Like it absolutely is bizarre being here sober.
Great. Congrats, Chad.
Thanks.
It's written in their songs, isn't it, that they were going to get their star on somewhere, and they did it. So yeah, very well deserved.
Something about being together and the spirit that Nickelback brings and the music they bring, it's all incredible.
They're just all jealous. They're all jealous because we are Nickelback fans and they aren't. And deep in their heart, we know that they are fans, but they're not going to be able to say that, right? It's Nickelback. Nickelback fever today, folks. Nickelback fever.
The Muslim festival of al-Adha begins today. We'll show you how some are celebrating after the break. Thanks for joining our commercial-free live stream. A Newfoundland choir are united by more than their love of music. The group members are also all cancer survivors. They went on hiatus during COVID, but recently performed their first show back. Troy Turner dropped by one of their recent rehearsals.
The healing power of music. It means more to these singers than most. Each one is joined by a shared experience of being a cancer survivor.
I'm a cancer survivor, 13 years, and I was approached probably about 3 years ago, prior to COVID actually, from Glenn Mullen, a friend of mine, and asked me if I'd like to join. And of course, COVID shut everything down the last 3 years, and when we started back up again a little while ago, I joined.
The choir has 15 members these days, down a little from when it started 22 years ago. Bob Hiscock is enjoying the experience so far.
We get together, lately now once a week, and we have our practices, and it's just a great bit of fun. Just a great bit of fun for the fellowship, and we have a laugh and learning some new songs.
The members acknowledge they're not professionals. It's more about raising money for charity and the camaraderie.
You do put everything into perspective, what really matters and what don't matter, and how you go about your life. And being, like I said, being a survivor, and you start to appreciate a lot of different things in life, You
just sit and you talk about everything that's going on in your lives and your daily life, and family. So it's not that you talk about cancer very much, really.
Lorraine Paddock is 34 years cancer-free. She's a charter member of the choir.
We know we've all been there, done that, and we just go on with our lives and just deal with the everyday living.
Glenn Molan was asked to direct the choir by a friend. He was not personally affected by the disease, but a year with the group, and things changed.
I conducted the choir practice, and at the end I said I got an announcement to make. I said, today I was diagnosed with leukemia, and everybody in the choir started to laugh. One man came down to me, Art Griffin came down, and he said, it's never as bad as it first seems. So I said, you'll be fine. And sure enough, he was right.
What's different about this choir from Moland is the audience's reception.
The audience that comes are coming to support a group of cancer survivors. So there's no pressure to be professional and perfect. It's just that we're actually there and showing our joy for music and life that inspires the audience anyway. So it's really, really something to see that dynamic.
Tonight's performance here at the Badger Community Church will be the first in more than 3 years for the Central Cancer Survivors Choir. After that, they'll take a break for summer and then continue with another season beginning in the fall. Troy Turner, CBC News, Badger.
Today marks the start of al-Adha, and across the country, celebrations are taking place. This is Woodbine Park in Toronto, where community members gathered in celebration. Eid al-Adha is a Muslim festival that marks the end of the annual pilgrimage to Mecca and commemorates the sacrifice of Abraham. Last year, we featured the story of a Syrian family who immigrated to Canada in 2016 after fleeing the war at home. In the short documentary, we saw how the family observed Ramadan. Well, Mariam Hero joins us once again. Mariam, how is your family celebrating this year?
Actually, because Eid came in the weekdays, so it's really hard to make plans to celebrate Eid. Actually, today is just a regular day. We're gonna celebrate when everyone is home, maybe after 5:30 or 6 p.m. We're gonna just share a meal. It's our traditional food for Eid. We can share it with my sister, my two brothers, mom, and I. So, and then maybe if we have a chance, if we still have an energy to get out to park maybe or something, or maybe we're gonna get some visitors at night. You never know, because it's really hard to celebrate in the weekdays. You know, everyone is busy and it's not an official holiday.
And can you tell us what this time of year and what this event means to you?
What Eid means to us? Actually, Eid means when families get together. It means sharing love. It's time to get back to your social life, to get together with your loved ones, exchange gifts. Actually, on the very special time is when we start in the early morning when we perform the prayer. It's a very special practice for Muslim during Eid al-Adha because it's not like an everyday prayer because we gather all in a mosque or in the park and we all stand shoulder by shoulder. We all face the same direction. We all follow the same steps together. We start together the prayer, we finish together. And no matter where you are from, we are just practicing a common festival. So you feel the unity, you feel you are related to a community, you are part of a story. So this is a very different feelings for us in the first day of Eid.
And Mariam, you've been in Canada for a few years now. What is it like celebrating here in Canada compared to back home in Syria?
Actually, it's very, very different. Back in Syria, from in my country, it's an official holiday, and everyone can celebrate the Eid. Everyone in the street, in the parks, restaurants are full. The streets are decorated. We exchange gifts. We visit each other. We are able to celebrate because everyone is off. No one is working. We all celebrate Eid. For immigrants like us who don't have their families or relatives here in Canada, so we try to celebrate with our friends. Actually, during the prayer in the morning, we get to know many Muslims from other communities, which is a really great chance to have a bigger community to celebrate with.
And Mariam, you mentioned there making friends. Last time we spoke with you, you said that was the hardest part about moving to Canada. So sounds like you have made some friends in the past few years.
Actually, yes. I made many amazing friends. I'm so glad. Because as I mentioned, when we go to the practice or perform the prayer, or when we go to our halal festivals, so it make it like it's easier to find friends from your community, and this is a really great, it helps you to feel the meaning of Eid, because Eid means sharing, getting together with your loved ones. So this way is easier when you have friends, at least the friends, if you don't have families and relatives.
Mariam, thank you so much for letting us come into your home, and wishing you very good celebrations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
The chilling aftermath has parts of the Titan submersible unloaded off a boat in St. John's Harbor. What they found and what comes next. Stay with us.
Aiden, look at the little squirrel on that bench.
He's chasing me.
No, he's not. He's wanting to visit.
We're at Beaver Lake, a bit of wilderness in Stanley Park. This man-made lake has drawn wildlife and the people who love it for more than 60 years. And yes, it's only minutes from downtown. But there's trouble in paradise, and it's coming in Technicolor. Water lilies, introduced here in 1937, are slowly choking the lake. Without help, it will die.
Well, you know, 20 years from now, this lake will be completely filled in, because that's nature's way of turning it into bogland.
Yeah. The Stanley Park Task Force doesn't want that to happen. Like visitors here, it considered the obvious solution.
So what would you do then?
Well, I think I'd look at whatever small amount of dredging needs to be done. I can't imagine that we need to knock down too many trees to get the equipment in.
Knock down trees. No. The task force chose a more novel approach. A moose. 1,500 pounds of munching machine. The task force proposed 2 of them to chow down on Beaver Lake.
The moose channel, naturally they will channel, and they will just go back and forth across a lake and eat the water lilies and basically dig these channels, and they will go back and forth in the same channels over and over again and make the lake deeper.
This sort of thing verges on the ridiculous.
This retired zoology professor says the task force doesn't understand moose.
Moose are what we would term browsers. They're animals that require large territories. They move around great distances.
But the task force would not give them those distances. The plan is to build a 12-foot fence around Beaver Lake.
Oh yes, it would make the area quite inaccessible for a couple of years, but I wonder how many people really use Beaver Lake all that much.
The idea caught regular users by surprise.
What do you guys think of putting a moose in here?
A what?
Moose. Oh, really?
The idea of the moose makes me laugh. I mean, it's humorous to think of, but I don't think it's right for the moose.
I don't know how many moose you'd have to have in here to get rid of them. Probably the whole family. And it would take more than 2 years. And what if they don't like water lilies? What do you do then?
So no to the moose. No to the moose.
But there are some people who disagree.
You see the moose right out here, and he's eating the lilies. Otherwise, they'll take right over. The moose will keep it down. I think it's a damn good idea.
So will the heron have to make way for a pair of monstrous plant eaters? Stay tuned. For the CBC Evening Moose, I'm Bob Nixon in Vancouver.
Welcome back. Roseanne Archibald is out as National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations. This after a vote late tonight and after more than a year of controversy. Olivia Stefanovic takes us through the late-breaking details at this hour.
Roseanne Archibald makes no apologies for the way she leads, but behind the scenes, her tenure engulfed in turmoil, resulting in a historic vote in favor of her ouster.
I'm pretty pleased. I think it was a long time in coming.
More than 70% of chiefs gathered for a private virtual meeting voted in favor of her removal. After a workplace investigation concluded, she harassed and retaliated against 5 senior staff members.
I was very disappointed.
Tanya Cameron waited all day for the results.
I think there are elements of misogyny that certainly came into play.
For more than a year, Archibald faced harassment allegations from 4 senior staff members in her own office, and the Assembly of First Nations' now former CEO. This led to her temporary suspension, lifted last July after chiefs voted to give her another chance.
I need to be reinstated fully.
Meanwhile, regional chiefs launched an external workplace investigation. For the past year, the probe overshadowed the Assembly.
We can't waste any more time on this. Our people need us.
Archibald maintains her innocence, calling the workplace investigation biased. A smear campaign, she said, designed to distract from her campaign for a forensic audit into the finances of the organization led by her predecessors.
There have been decades of calls for reform. Decades. And that has been met with resistance and, in my case, retaliation.
Olivia Stefanovic reporting tonight. Debris from the wreckage of the Titan submersible has been collected and unloaded this morning in St. John's, Newfoundland. It's expected to be sent on to the U.S. team conducting a full investigation into last week's implosion. The CBC's Heather Gillis was at the port for the ship's somber arrival.
The Horizon Arctic arrived in St. John's just after 7:30 this morning, along with wreckage from Titan. And what we could see here earlier today is the ship unloaded parts of the wreckage onto a flatbed truck, what appeared to be the nose of Titan with its porthole visible, a side panel of the sub, and it was covered with a white tarp duct taped onto the side there. It looks like we could also see parts of the tail and legs, and then 3 packages of other debris along with metal rings being offloaded onto those flatbed trucks covered with blue tarp and then secured to the trucks, which were moved a little further, we believe, down the dock. The Transportation Safety Board is on scene, though they will not tell CBC News where the wreckage is going or what is going to happen to it next. What we do know, the U.S. Coast Guard ship Sycamore is also in St. John's. It arrived here just before 9 this morning and was parked right behind the Horizon Arctic. We do know that a U.S. military aircraft, a C-17, will be in St. John's as well. And something that was also on the Horizon Arctic, the ROV that found the Titan wreckage, was also launched from this ship. And when it was launched into the water originally last week, it was equipped for a rescue. But then once it got down to the sea floor, it did make the chilling discovery, debris of Titan. All key components now that are going to be part of the investigations that are now in their infancy. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Police in Alberta have charged a man in a case that may have parents thinking twice about posting photos of their children online. As Rosa Marcatelli shows us, he's accused of passing off his neighbor's child as his own for years.
On the surface, there doesn't seem to be anything strange about it. Just a dad posting photos of his daughter on social media. The thing is, the man posting all these photos isn't her dad.
Hey, you go first.
These are her real parents. We're not using their last names to protect the girl's identity.
Just in shock and sickened that this guy has this stuff, and yeah, I was just in disbelief.
Really disturbing.
Someone tipped the family off after seeing the girl's photo online, saying a man named Brian Keith Strachan was using the girl's pictures for 8 years, allegedly to convince people he was a single dad struggling financially. Strachan even giving the girl a fake name, Amanda.
Sickening, gut-wrenching, like I just didn't really know what to do. You know, it was we didn't even want our daughter to leave our side.
The scheme was all part of an elaborate lie, police say, to try and solicit donations from organizations. Against All Abuse is one of those groups.
Saw pictures of her, show us on his phone, and of course, all over Facebook. You know, that's what's really jaw-dropping about all this. It just left us speechless.
There are also more than a dozen posts on a chat website from a man calling himself Brian Strachan, disturbing posts about his 8-year-old daughter.
I think we are starting to see more of this, especially as social media progresses, and it has become significantly more common within the last 10 years.
Police have now laid charges. A fraud charge related to a donation Strachan allegedly got while lying about being a single dad, and 2 weapons charges. Police did confiscate a computer, phone, and handgun from Strachan's house. They're going through the electronics now and say more charges could be coming.
I thought I was private, and so now, like, we won't be posting, obviously. There are still pictures of our family on there, but we have locked down to friends only.
Police advise families to check their privacy settings on all forms of social media. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.
And you're taking a live look at Chicago, where smoke from Canadian wildfires is blanketing the cityscape. More on the impacts of the smoke after the break.
We're sharing really important information with the public, and I feel like this is exactly what our job is, especially as the public broadcaster, especially in morning radio. That's incredibly important.
Land Back is a CBC original podcast where we uncover land theft in Canada and look at how Indigenous people are taking it all back.
And that's what empowered nations and empowered people to just literally steal land.
This is a consequence of your actions.
And it's time to give land back.
Land Back is out now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
People across this country are once again dealing with severe wildfire smoke. Air quality warnings have been issued for many parts of Canada. As Ithil Musa reports, parts of Ontario and Quebec are particularly impacted. Toronto holds the dubious distinction today of having the worst air quality in the world.
This is what millions of Canadians woke up to today. Grey, hazy skies, all thanks to smoke from wildfires burning in Ontario and Quebec.
I thought it was going to be sunny today. That's what I was expecting, and then when I came out, I was like, oh, right.
This outdoor cafe owner in downtown Toronto says the pollution is affecting his business and his health.
I just feel a little bit more fatigued.
Environment Canada rated the air quality in many parts of southwestern Ontario as high risk. It's so bad the City of Toronto has suspended outdoor activities at early learning and childcare centres, and it's moved some recreation programs inside. These demonstrators want more to be done to combat climate change, which they say is the cause of all this air pollution.
I have a young daughter at daycare who's not going outside today because the air quality is so bad. I'm pregnant. This air quality is really bad for my unborn child.
In Windsor and Chatham, Canada Post has paused mail deliveries to keep carriers safe. Experts say small children, the elderly, and those with medical conditions should also consider staying indoors.
Wildfire smoke is among the most dangerous forms of air pollution. They can travel really long distances, they can get into our lungs, even into our bloodstreams, our organs, and our brain, and they have all sorts of effects on our health.
Across the border in Detroit, residents are dealing with some of the worst air quality in the United States. Smoke from Canadian wildfires has also made its way to cities like Chicago and New York.
It is unsafe to be outdoors, use a mask, and pay attention to the alerts.
Public health experts say people should avoid strenuous outdoor activities during this smoky weather, and some residents may even want to wear an N95-type mask to avoid breathing in smoke particles. Ithil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
Air quality has been an issue for Canadians for much of the summer already. The burning eyes and coughing may have left you with questions about your health. CBC's Matt Lapierre set out to answer some of them.
With forest fires raging, you might be thinking more about air quality and what to do when it gets smoky. But how do we know if the air quality is bad, and what can you do to protect yourself? First off, air pollution is measured a few different ways. The Air Quality Index measures the amount of stuff that's bad for you to breathe in. There are different kinds of stuff, but the most relevant here is particulate matter, tiny, even microscopic pollutants that float in the air. The smaller the stuff, the more dangerous it is because it can go deep into your lungs, even into your bloodstream. The Air Quality Index, that number represents the amount of particulate matter less than 2.5 micrometers in size. That's 1/1,000,000th of a meter. Measured in micrograms, 1/1,000,000th of a gram per cubic meter of air. You don't need to remember that. What you do need to remember is this. Basically, 0 to 50 means good, 50 to 150 means not good, and over 150 means bad. In Montreal on the Saint Jean long weekend, when it looked super hazy and a bit apocalyptic, the air quality index was over 200. There's also the Air Quality Health Index, which is used by Environment Canada. Instead of a complex math equation, it simplifies everything to a scale of 1 to 10 plus, which represents the level of risk to your health. It factors in particulate matter, but also other dangerous things in the air like ozone and nitrogen dioxide. All of those can be found, by the way, in forest fire smoke. So now you're asking, what should I do with those index levels? Here's what the experts say. If index levels are somewhere in the middle, people who are particularly vulnerable, people with asthma, the elderly, young children, should take precautions. If levels are in the upper third, everybody should. In general, very high risk means avoiding exercise or strenuous activity outdoors. Staying indoors and keeping your windows closed is even better. When there are smog warnings in place, it's one of the few times that the air outdoors is actually filled with more harmful stuff than the air indoors. If you're worried about your indoor air, get an air purifier with a good filter like a HEPA filter. Air conditioners, at least if it's central AC, also have filters. But window air conditioners don't help the same way. If you do choose to go outside, coughing and throat irritation are symptoms to watch out for. Wearing a mask like an N95 doesn't hurt. It will filter out the harmful particles in the air. Ultimately, if the air is bad from, say, forest fire smoke, you'll know it because you'll smell it and you'll see it. If it looks something like this and smells like a campfire, it might be best to stay indoors, or at least maybe skip that bike ride.
That's CBC's Matt Lapierre reporting from smoky Montreal. Johanna Wagstaff joins us now with the forecast. Joe, we know that story of smoke coast to coast is one that you are always following.
Yes, and we know this well here on the West Coast across BC, but for the second time this early season, Central and Eastern Canada are getting a taste of what we know so well on the West Coast. Just wanted to show you the visible satellite of the Great Lakes. I put Toronto here. This is a snapshot from space just a couple of hours ago, and you can see that thick gray haze. That is the low-level particulate matter, all from those fires in central Quebec, as we heard earlier, being directed down across major cities and in through about 80 million Americans south of the border, everyone under the white, under that air quality special weather statement. We are seeing that smoke up towards the northeast, continuing with our big fires as well across the island, and we're watching for fire danger to increase in our neck of the woods as we head into early next week and into our next heat wave. This system, bringing the showers to the northwest, will continue to usher in Pacific moisture through Friday and Saturday, but our high pressure that so far has really just kept the south coast clear and warm. We still are watching those thunderstorms in the interior for yet another afternoon. Well, things are going to dry out for the interior as well. So by Friday afternoon into Saturday, that risk for an afternoon shower or thunderstorm really decreasing and disappearing across all of southern BC. So for the past couple of weeks, we've seen a high moisture content in the southeast. That's going to change as we head into the weekend, but continuing to see showers central and northern BC. Okay, as far as temperatures, we're actually coming down a couple degrees across the province as we head into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that goes for Metro Vancouver as well. We just get a little bit of cloud cover, a little more Pacific air, and we're back down to our seasonal low 20s for the south coast, just hitting the low 30s through the interior. It's Monday that we'll watch for temperatures to rebound, and we may even see some heat-related warnings or advisories issued for southern BC again early next week. 26 tomorrow in Williams Lake, looking for an afternoon thunderstorm around Prince George and possibly up towards the Peace again. But notice less of a chance tomorrow across the southern interior. That's after several days of thousands of lightning strikes for the interior, but we're hoping that they did come with a good amount of rain. Look at that dry forecast for Metro Vancouver. Inland over the weekend, feeling more like 25 rather than the 27 we were feeling like today. And then, Michelle, there's that big warm-up starting early next week, so we'll have to watch for that one.
All right, thanks so much, Joe. We will keep following that fire risk into the long weekend.
Sounds good. Thanks.
A long debate about how to calculate age is finally being put to rest in South Korea, all thanks to a new law that's designed to clear up the confusion. Valpuri explains to us how it works and how it's received.
More than 51 million people in South Korea awoke today to find themselves a year or two younger, at least according to the law. I'm supposed to be 30 next year in the traditional Korean age system, she says, but with this new age system, I became 2 years younger. Canadians of South Korean descent explain the traditional age system considered people to be a year old at birth. Then another year was added every January 1st.
I prefer the old Korean system because even though the baby didn't get birth in the world, but it is still alive in the womb.
Going forward, age will be calculated from 0 at birth.
Of course it's good. Why? Because age is lower.
It's less confusing for other people and more simple.
In yet another system of age calculation, some South Koreans use a mashup of their international age and Korean age for what they call a calendar age. It considers babies as 0 years old at birth, but adds a year to their age every January 1st. For example, Gangnam Style singer Psy was born on December 31st, 1977. By international age, he's 45. By calendar age, he's 46. And by Korean age, he's 47. Other East Asian countries have used traditional age counting methods in the past and also dropped them. Japan switched to the international standard in 1950, and North Korea did the same in the 1980s. Outside of Korea, many have long discarded the traditional ways of counting age.
I talked with my friend in Korea, and hey, I can believe I'm gonna be 50 in July. And then my friends said, hey, forget it, you're already 52.
Belle Puri, CBC News, Vancouver.
The endangered Vancouver Island marmot is having a moment, making gains after a serious brush with extinction. An update when we return.
I eventually seen this job posted on Indeed, so then I decided to try it out. And then the first couple of days were kind of like mad, and then I eventually got a hang of it. I mean, eventually I didn't, and then after that, I tried to get reactions, intentionally try to get reactions of people, and just try to make people laugh. And then I realized this kind of was for me.
He is the definition of just a team player. He brings so much energy, so much life. Even on rainy, cloudy days, he's the sunshine out there, and he just makes everyone feel so close, and it's just he's a big part of our family, a big part of our team here. His bike is his main mode of transportation. His speaker brings him a whole bunch of energy, a whole bunch of motivation to kind of go out there and dance. And so when you find out somebody was like that and was able to kind of get away with stealing from such a nice guy, such a caring guy, it devastated me. So what I did was I made an effort to kind of gather people from the community, people that may know him, and try to get a little bit of help to get him back on his feet. That's not expensive out there, and he deserves it out of anybody in the world.
Honestly, it kind of made my day when I was seeing the GoFundMe. I was kind of hesitant about the GoFundMe thing. I was like, I don't want people giving me money. I don't want to be a charity case. But then it's like, but it's reading people's comments. Like a lot of people say I brighten people's days and stuff. It's kind of make. It just feel good to feel appreciated.
I would not be surprised to see him become the mascot of the company somewhere down the line. He would make it just a really friendly face, but the dance moves is the kind of the seller. I don't think I've ever associated weed with hip thrusting more in my life.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox. CBC Vancouver is the premier media partner of the 2023 Surrey Fusion Festival, July 22nd and 23rd. Visit the festive cultural pavilions, enjoy free live music and family activities. And the 13th annual Indian Summer Festival takes place July 6th to the 16th. The festival's powerful 10-event lineup speaks to the theme of interdependence. Tickets at indiansummerfest.ca.
52 Vancouver Island Marmots spent the first year of their life in Mount Washington's Marmot Recovery Foundation. They'll all be released this year, and 4 were set free today.
It's really exciting for us to get them out into the wild and part of this recovering population of this really incredibly rare and special species.
The Marmot Recovery Foundation first released marmots 20 years ago when there were just 22 of them found in the wild. They were at serious risk of extinction. Now there are more than 200.
One of the most endangered mammal species on the planet, but it has come an incredible distance from where we began. And this is one of the few species where we can really document that without these conservation efforts, this species would be extinct today.
It could take another 20 years before the population can sustain itself. A longtime Burnaby chocolate maker is celebrating his 93rd birthday. Charlie Sigvardsson still enjoys coming to work at his chocolate factory. He spoke to CBC about the sweet treat and his love for the craft.
Hi, I'm Charlie. I'd like to welcome you to Charlie's Chocolate Factory today. I like chocolate. Good chocolate is good for you. When you eat chocolate, put it in your mouth, let it melt slowly. You'll get the flavor. You should never put it in your mouth and you're chewing away.
Charlie is turning 93 and has been making chocolate for more than 50 years. What is it that's made you want to work here for so long?
A friend of mine told me, you'll never work a day in your life if you enjoy what you do. I don't really work. I enjoy what I do. I have fun doing it. Not only having fun, but coming in contact with people.
It all started with a thesis paper in university. Charlie was looking for a topic, and his professor gave him business cards for candy businesses.
And the rest is history. We bring the chocolate direct from Belgium, goes to our warehouse, and we just had one a month ago, came in, and there's 40,000 pounds in a container.
Charlie even made it to the Candy Hall of Fame in 2015.
You've got to do something distinctive. Was trying to get a 5-foot chocolate maple leaf to go to Taiwan for a trade show. I had somebody build this river, but I wanted to make sure it was run with real chocolate.
How long have you been coming to Charlie's Chocolate Factory?
Probably be about 20 years. The options, the selection, and Charlie, obviously.
Well, I feel blessed. I really do.
If you can barely contain yourself from eating an ice cream any time of day, you'll understand this next hungry visitor. It was an early morning wake-up call like no other. A Whitehorse couple were shocked to find a hungry bear rambling through their kitchen. It started at the fridge, apparently, eating several containers of pistachio ice cream, and strolled through the living room looking for other snacks, leaving quite the mess along the way. In the future, they plan to lock their door and hide the ice cream. Thanks for spending your Wednesday night with us on CBC News at 6. If you're not already watching us on CBC Gem, you can find this show and many others there on CBC's free app. Janella Hamilton will have your late news at 11 o'clock right here. Good night.